Welcome to the Short Punk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet, and today the importance of an accent. I've noted that I've gone back to the iTunes store to look at what podcasts are currently popular, what the new world order of podcasting is, and the thing that strikes me is a majority of these podcasts have American accents. Occasionally it's been noted that my accent has been troubling to some people. Some people can't get past the fact that I have this strange accent. And I think what interests me through this process is the people that have moved to my podcasts, in particular Model Rail Radio, have had to overcome that, but then have realized that there's some benefit in not just having some American schmuck talking to them or presenting them in some regard with their particular interest in the model railroading hobby. Perhaps a pluralist ability to ask interesting questions or have different insights than a standard American may have. I'm not really sure. But one thing I'm definitely not going to do is change my accent. I've thought about it for periods of time. My accent does change a little bit the longer that I spend in particular countries, but in general I am very satisfied with my accent and I don't want to change it. It represents a certain amount of uniqueness. My accent is not typically Australian, it's not typically British, it now has certain kind of American flows through it, and in this regard I think my accent is mine and I don't particularly want to change it for any meaningful reason. If it makes the difference having a podcast that has, 10,000 listeners versus a podcast that has 500,000 listeners, well, that's getting close. But podcasts are always my hobby. They're not something I think of particularly seriously. And the folks that don't listen to my podcast because of my accent, I don't particularly want to have them as listeners anyway. So for now, it's more an observation than anything. Maybe I should partner with more Americans to kind of tone into what they're listening for. But for now, the accent will stay, and the observations associated with accents going forward, well, they'll be observations. One curious footnote I want to point out, but it has always fascinated me, and leads somewhat into this discussion associated with accents. When people are killed on the world stage in the US, when it's reported, there's always a delineation between everyone else who dies and an American who dies. And I think there's an underlying narrative in this country which is so much about everyone else from outside this country doesn't really live the same life. They're not really quite humans to the same level that Americans are humans. And this is done so explicitly, like, what are we saying that's wrong? This is, of course, the way the world really is. Heaven forbid that people in other countries might actually be breathing humans as well. The way in which it's presented is very much like this is not even a topic of discussion to be had. There's just the rest of the world and there's Americans, and Americans are clearly more important than the rest of the world. And as someone who comes from the rest of the world, it always strikes me as very curious. The accent is a part of that, and it's a part that I'm going to have to embrace. For now, my death will not be mourned in the same way as if I was an American. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.